All right, I think we are live on Facebook. Hello, welcome, sisters. Welcome, everybody who is going to be joining this class, the Feminine Empress Codes. We are talking about self leadership today, and I am just gonna make sure if everything in my world in regards to technology is working fine. And yeah, so if you're joining in, welcome, sisters. We are talking about self leadership, and it has become important for me to actually touch this topic, and I was wondering, why haven't I spoken about it yet? I am going to quickly check my other device just to make sure that I am live for real and everything is going on smooth. If you are watching me, then can someone please comment and let me know? Um, let me know if the volume is alright. Well, so before I begin to talk about the self leadership and discuss some nuances around power dynamics as women and what it is exactly to understand the concept of self leadership, I just want to take a moment to take a deep breath and center myself. And probably if you are watching and you're beginning your day from wherever you are, or if you are in the middle of the day, just take a moment to ground into your body, come to your body, and get present with your intention. Why are you even watching this live? Is it a waste of your time, or are you curious, or is there something that you think that might inspire you? And my intention here is to share some aspects of self-leadership that will help you, or that will inspire you to make conscious choices in your lives, conscious decision in your life. So that's what we are doing here today. So before we begin, I am curious if you will be watching this replay to share with me if you feel that you are living a life in self-leadership. Let me know if you feel that your life is in accordance to your own leadership. Yeah, so I need to make sure if the comments are working. Oh, hi. Oh, yes, there are comments. Hi, Seema. Yes, lovely to see you live here. Hey, Kenny. Thank you for being here. One of the things, if I can request, is that if you are watching this, then can you please share this on your Facebook page or Facebook profile or any group that you are in, if you feel that this is a topic that will resonate with some more people, and if you would like to invite them, please invite them to watch this, or just simply share. And yeah, let's spread these ripples of self leadership that we have been called into over the last 2 years. Well, precisely over the last 2 weeks or so, I have been sharing about the feminine empress archetype. Those of you who have taken part in the 9 days invocation, the feminine empress activation temple, and the days following that, you will know more. But for those of you who are watching and wondering what is this feminine empress archetype, You can go inside the Exploring Femininity Sisterhood group, and there are plenty of videos and posts that will give you a lot of guidance and inspiration to understand what the feminine empress archetype is. I don't want to go into that detail, but I want to specifically talk about the self-leadership aspect. And one of the major things that this feminine empress archetype invites us is to raise our standards of self-leadership as a woman, so that we can love, live, lead in integrity. Integrity means in ways that are congruent to our own personality, congruent to our own ideas of life even. So that's what self-leadership is required according to the feminine empress archetype. And so it is important that I clarify some aspects of this self-leadership here. So I'm curious to also hear from you, what is your idea of self-leadership? A lot of people confuse self-leadership with I will get to that, but yeah, what is your idea of self-leadership? Let me know if you have an idea of self-leadership. So if I have to define self-leadership, I can call self-leadership as an act of taking responsibility for your life, to lead your life in the direction you truly desire, without apology or without requiring approval from others. So basically, self-leadership is an act of total responsibility that you take upon yourself to lead your life, to live your life in ways that are truly yours, without any apology, without requiring approval from others. So in other words, you can also say that self-leadership is also about becoming intentional about influencing your own thoughts, your own ideas, your own perspectives that suits you, your personality, that is coming from within. You know, it is very important that we recognize the aspect of self-leadership that no one is talking about. Self-leadership to me is also about becoming intentional about how we are choosing to influence our own thoughts, ideas, and perspectives. Because truth be told, if you do not do this for yourself, if you do not take charge of influencing your own thoughts, ideas, perspectives of life, of things, circumstances around you, then you will become part of somebody else's influence. So, you know, there's a famous saying that if you do not have a plan or a vision or an idea of who you are or what you want, then you become a part of someone else's plan, someone else's vision, someone else's idea. You become someone else's influence. And this usually happens when you are in a job, for example. You can think of, you know, when you don't know what you want to do in life, and you get into a job, and then the job then influences your life rather than you influencing your ideas of your life. It can happen in relationships when you don't know who you are, or what you want, or your desires and needs, then you are just getting carried away by the desires, needs, and ideas and influence of your partner. It can happen in the family dynamics once again. If you don't know who you are, what you want, what you don't want, you get carried away by the ideas and plans and visions of other people around you. It doesn't matter if you like it or not, but you still do it. We all still do it. Yeah, Seema, taking full responsibility of one's behaviors. Can you safe leadership to me is to do things yourself, to not depend on other people? Yes. pretty much it. So you see the idea of self-leadership. It is also about influencing, intentionally influencing your own thoughts, ideas, perspectives of life. Because just look around what is happening. Just look around what is happening. We are being pulled in so many different directions, and if we do not hold a firm ground, if we do not have the understanding of who we are and what we want and what we desire, what our core values are, then we're going to be pulled in all different directions. Yeah, so I want to give you some examples, some life situations, let's say, of what it may feel like if you are not living a life that is in sync with self-leadership, or if you are struggling with self-leadership in your life. So some of the things that will be very common in your life, predominant in your life, and give me a yes if you resonate with this. So you wait for changes to happen, you wait for things to happen in your life. So rather than being proactive about changing things, you wait, and you wait for some situation to change. Basically become a passive member of your own life, passive character of your own life. Another way you can feel that you are not fully into self-leadership is when you feel powerless or stuck in a situation, and then you blame the other people around you, or you blame the external forces for things that are not working in your life. So that's an example of not being in self-leadership. You blame the system, corona, your partner, your family, arrogant people, bad bosses and stuff. You blame others for, or external forces, circumstances around you, for things that are not nice or interesting about your own life. Another way how this can look like, lack of self-leadership can look like in your life is, as I said, that when you allow others' opinions to influence your choices. Once again, there is no harm in asking people's opinion, but there's a difference between checking in for opinion and allowing others or giving others the rights about your own choices and decisions in life. So you look for approval from others, and this is actually a big pandemic among women. We think that if no one acknowledges us, what we are doing is not as important, or what we are doing, or we think we're doing something wrong. And this is very much ingrained in our psyche. By default, a lot of us women have been taught to look for approval from others, look for acknowledgement for others for our own doings, and this kind of takes us away from self-leadership, because we are all constantly waiting for someone else to tell us what to do, or to please someone else. Like I have spent a lot of years pulling myself out of this people pleaser role, so I can very much vouch for this was my state of life. Another thing how lack of self-leadership looks like is when you are afraid. When you are afraid, to take charge of your own life, because you feel that if you choose you, then you will lose everyone else in your life. And this is also a very common theme that I have noticed among women, and always waiting for external validation. Yeah, we know it very well, isn't it, sister? So another thing is that we feel that if you choose you, then you will lose people around you, especially your loved ones. And in fact, the opposite is quite true. When you choose you, of course you will lose your circle, your circle of people around, your close circle of people around. Not all, but even it does happen. But if they are your loved ones, eventually your loved ones come along, and what beautiful thing you do is that by choosing you, you make space for them to get a taste of what it feels like. They may not like it, they may not tell you that they like it, but sometimes they want to be like you, and they will still hang around you. So it's not that we will lose everyone around us. Those who love us will stick with us, and some friends, yes, we may lose, but the good news is you will attract a much more resonating tribe. Excuse me. Okay, I think I got really excited here and I needed to cough badly. So let me know if this is resonating with you. Yeah, exactly, isn't it, Melissa? You waiting for external validation, but then you're not sure whom from. Like, what are we doing and why are we even doing it when you wonder? The thing about losing our loved ones is quite a big fear for women to take this act of self-leadership. But I must tell you this, it happened with me too. Did lose my loved ones, and these loved ones at the time were my close circle of friends, social circle pretty much. What happened eventually is I ended up attracting a much more resonating tribe of people around me, which fulfills me. Yes, there were misunderstandings in the family as well. A lot of my family members just did not understand what the hell she was talking about. She's lost it, she's become a witch, and all of that. But eventually, your presence speaks. People can speak all of that, but when you become really present with yourself in full authenticity, people who love you will get that, will feel that, and will stick along. So these are some of the patterns we can catch ourselves, and understand that will make us understand that we are not actually living our own lives. And I'm not saying that let's all become rebellious, but slowly there are ways that we can take small steps to change these things in our life, and that's what self-leadership is all about. So self-leadership, on the contrary, when you begin to practice self-leadership, you take responsibility, you begin to take responsibility of your life situation. You begin from there. You stop looking at yourself as this victim, this poor girl, the poor girl who doesn't have time, who doesn't have resources, who doesn't have support. You stop looking at yourself this way, but instead you begin to find ways to bring that power back to you, because in the end you are supreme power. Yeah, self-leadership also means that you begin to change the things that you do not like in your life, and which means that you become authentic. If you look at the root word of authentic, is the word author, and author is the writer. Yeah, writer. So you then become the writer of your own life. You then go for your dreams. You take the time to find out what they are. You equip yourselves with resources, skills, knowledge, whatever it is required for you to get closer to them. So you take charge of all of these things in your life. You choose courage over fear. We've been talking about it in the warrior essence of the feminine empress. You choose courage over fear, because it's not about perfection. It's not about self-leadership is not about being this perfect persona of this woman. It's not about perfection, and it's also not about doing everything by yourself all alone. One of the important things of self-leadership is that it asks you to become okay, to become comfortable, to be seen as different. Now just feel into this. You know, deep inside we know that we are different, because the truth is, I'm not trying to be biased or trying to create some kind of better or worse situation here, but the truth is that we know when we walk in the world, we know that we are different, and sometimes that is the fear. So self-leadership is about, you know, becoming comfortable in that different aspect of yourself, you know, and by doing so, you give others the permission to be whoever they want to be, and you don't look for permission from others for whoever you want to be. And that's freeing. I always think I have to do all by myself alone. Yeah, that's like the alpha female thing. It's very exhausting to do everything by ourselves, and which is why, like, when we work more with the feminine empress archetype, we learn more about the magic of invocation, because our words are important. Our words create a lot of support for us, and it's available for us. So I wanted to touch base on one of the misconception about self-leadership. So let me know what I'm talking about self-leadership is resonating so far with you, if that's resonating. And I'm going to see if I'm able to share this somewhere. Yeah. So here is one big misconception about self-leadership. People often confuse self-confidence or self-esteem with self-leadership. You see, there is a bit of a difference here. Self-leadership does not mean that you have to be self-confident. It's two different things, and that's a big relief in itself if you feel into this, because we spend a lot of time trying to become confident, and it is exhausting. We chase something that keeps coming back to us. You think that you become confident enough that you will never be afraid to speak up in a public place like this. It's not about self-confidence. I spoke about choosing courage over fear in the warrior essence inside the Feminine Empress Activation Temple quite a few times. So you see, self-esteem, self-confidence, they are basically a set of belief systems. Yeah, they are a set of belief system that you have, you know, that you feel you have this self-confidence set of belief that you have, that makes you feel that you can do anything, you can be anything that you have set your mind to. So you utilize those beliefs like, okay, I can do this, yes, I'm confident, I'll go for it, that's it, yes. There is a subtle difference between self-confidence and self-leadership, because self-leadership is your ability to actually take the action unapologetically without anyone else's permission, without worrying that what that person may think, because you're sourcing courage. So self-leadership is your ability to actually take the action. So you may have a set of belief that you're confident and you can do this and that, but there's a difference between having those beliefs and actually taking the action. And this action, when you take from a place of self-leadership, you do not take from a place of perfection. You do not take from a place of permission. In fact, you take it from the space of courage. You can have ton of self-confidence, and you can believe that you can do everything possible, but if you lack self-leadership, then you will not take that risk. Self-leadership is when you take the risk knowing that you are the only one responsible, you are the only one answerable in integrity. You see, we started from there. Self-leadership is all about taking full responsibility. So when you take an action from a space of self-leadership, you understand that even if you fail, and perhaps, or it happened several times that yes, you fail, but then you know that you are the one responsible. And when you do take this action from this space, you know that if you are the one responsible, then you also have the ability to course correct. Does this make sense? So integrity is a big thing here. We've got to understand who we are, what we are, and then we've got to take responsibility of that, and we've then got to be true to ourselves in our actions, through our actions. And you know, that's the word sovereign has been used quite a lot these days, and I think it's a perfect word. It's a really good word to describe self-leadership. You see, the feminine empress is a sovereign being. Her empire is her being, herself. So when you look into the word sovereign and its meaning in the dictionary, it means, sovereign means a person with supreme rank. Like the Queen of England, you call her the sovereign. The problem with the word sovereign is not its definition, but who do we choose to apply this word to? Yeah, who do we choose to give this supreme rank to in our lives? Is it this boss that you have? Is it this group of people? Is it your partner, your family, your occupation, the corporation, government, whatever? It is about understanding that the supreme rank holder of your life is you. When your self-leadership is strong, you know without any doubt that you hold the supreme rank in your life. That means you hold the authority to make the choices of your present, of your future. We see so many protests going on recently about my body, my choice. Yeah, so we've given our power away in ways that we are so disconnected with our own bodies, with our own ideas of life. And then we feel bad that nobody understands us, or our rights have been misused. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. When you work with a feminine empress archetype, this is what we learn, integrate, and implement in great details, all aspects of your self-leadership, because a feminine empress does not give anyone the power over her choices in life. No one has the power over her body, mind, spirit. She does not seek another person to complete herself. You know, she is not the better half. She is not looking for the better half. She is the whole looking for another whole. Whole in the sense, like, not the whole, but whole, like complete. She knows that if she needs something in her life, if there is a desire that is born, then she can find the resources to provide that for herself, for her family, for her loved ones. A feminine empress, she is the queen of her own domain, her decisions. She is the monarch of her own dreams, desires. And one of the really interesting aspects of this archetype is that this feminine empress chooses her team of royal advisors. So when you think about this queen and empress and king, they usually have their team of royal advisors to advise them on specific areas of interest. So the feminine empress also chooses her team of royal advisors who assist her in making these conscious decisions, maintaining high standards, because it's not about doing everything by herself. She knows how to ask support from the right people. Does this make sense? It does to me, it's painfully so, yeah. Personal sovereignty. How to develop personal sovereignty, Seema? This is a very, first of all, it's a lifelong inquiry. But there is always a beginning, yeah. Yeah, not better half. I really hate when I am introduced as the better half of my husband, or if my husband is introduced as my better half. That means I've been half all my life. Like I'm not even given that credit of a whole person until I get married or until I find another person, a man or a partner. It's ridiculous. That's how we do not live in sovereignty. How do you begin how to develop personal sovereignty? Personal sovereignty begins by understanding, first of all, our own body, our own needs, listening to our intuition, understanding our pain, hurt, and working through that. When we work through all of these, through our bodies, then we begin to understand what our core values are in our life, and what our desires are. And our core values and core needs are something that are unique to us, and that forms the basis of the decisions, choices that we make, the expression we become. So it's an inquiry into that begins from the body, or understanding where your needs are not met. First, it is a journey going through the dark qualities and then emerging through the light. So as you're joining us in the Feminine Empress Codes immersion, sister, so we will begin with the lover essence, where we will go through the dark codes of the lover, which is all about the blocked heart, why she doesn't have any trust, why she doesn't allow more love, why can't she forgive for all the hurt. When we work through all of that, you will slowly begin to pick up pieces of yourself that you have lost, in this journey of life, because the way we've been conditioned. So, and that's the way you'll be able to embrace more of your body's wisdom, more of creating the love that's who you are, so you can be a better person to people around you. Reclaiming sovereignty is also about reclaiming your sexuality, which has been disconnected from the feminine through centuries. So there's a whole lot of work around it. So yeah, feel into it. How will you be different when you are able to fully embody this self-leadership? All aspects of your self-leadership. Yeah, let's take a moment to just breathe here and feel and you will still make mistakes, things will still be challenging, you will still get hurt, because that's what life is. But then, as I said, you will be responsible for yourself. There will be no regret thinking that I could have done this way, I should have done this way, I should have listened to that person. No, you become fully responsible, and as long as you're fully responsible, You know, responsibility goes really hand in hand with the energy of creatress, the energy of creation. As long as you take full responsibility of yourself, you will see those people who are fully responsible. They are not afraid to fail, because they know if they have done it once, they can do it again. If you have overcome a challenge in your life, a big situation, circumstance, a trauma in your life, by yourself, by trusting yourself, there might have been times in your life where you have done that you listened to yourself and you followed through, no matter what anyone else around you have told you, and you came through. And if you have done that once, you can do it again and again. You can meet all challenges. Our job here is to, work with this muscle, to grow this muscle, the trust muscle within ourselves, to keep showing in courage. Yeah, waiting for 8-8, yeah. That's true. So I want to touch a little bit about the power dynamics as women, because self-leadership can sometimes feel scary for some of us, especially some of us introvert ones, So for me, I always thought that self-leadership requires me to become more outgoing or outward or projecting outwards, and that's not true. Self-leadership for me was understanding the word power in itself. And we as women have really, really distorted image. The word power has been misused in the patriarchal world for a really long time, which is why since centuries a lot of women feel uncomfortable to be in the feminine, in the receptive, and also be in our power. So somehow in our minds these two things don't go together. We think that we have to be in our masculine to project our power. In fact, we don't know how. We've been taught that power means to be bossy, to be authoritative, and then if you show your power, then you become this bitch. Yeah. And that's difficult, because also most of us have been taught to be the nice girl. Most of us have been taught not to disappoint others and look for validations, and especially from our loved ones. So how can we be this bitch who is acting authoritatively? And there is a beautiful shift that the feminine empress archetype takes us into about power, because the patriarchy has taught us taught power to us as power over. So power over something. When we are taught that power means we become above the rest. Whereas the feminine way, the feminine empress way of power or experiencing power is not power over somebody or something, but it is power with and power to. So power with is that you go hand in hand with people around, because you understand your own power and you do not have to elevate yourself from the others. It's not about that when you understand your power, you become superior. When you understand your power, you instead become much more grounded, much more humble and compassionate, and you have this fierce grace in you. We go deep into power and presence in the mother essence in the feminine empress code, because the power that the feminine empress is talking about is the power that is relational and reciprocative with people around. We own our power in ways which makes people around us feel comfortable, which makes people to be amazed, like I want to experience this power too. You provide space for more power to cultivate, because this power is your sovereignty. Because then we can feel safe. We also become we also begin to feel safe around using power. When we also, one of the things about power is understanding our own presence first. When we understand our own presence first, and when we practice that, you will notice that you become more and more comfortable with your power. And we do this in workshops, you know, when we do this presence exercise, and when women work with their presence energy, they've cultivated their presence energy, and then we walk around in the room and they gaze, they lock eyes. It's quite powerful to witness as a facilitator, and they themselves can feel. So I make them do this before the presence practice and then after the presence practice, and it's amazing to see how much power women feel when they are fully present in their body. And this power is not power over, but a very relational power with and power to. Can one be powerful even being soft? Yes, we can be. Because the power that I'm talking is the power of sovereignty, you know. So when you are able to recognize your own power, you do not have to project. I've been called this kind of person. So in most of the times, I can be in the background of situation, and I can feel my power and not feel threatened, and I can trust, and it's about me feeling my own power and feeling the trust, and I can be soft unless I feel that, you know, somebody has violated my power, and then I come back as a projection. But you can be soft and powerful, yes. In fact, this is the very innate nature of the feminine. Yeah. So I recently received I should say a compliment, but a comment from one of my clients. She said that she signed up to work with me because she found my energy to be very graceful and very receptive and very comforting, and we began to work together, and we were going through certain practices, and I became really strict with few things, and she said that, okay, I did not see this face of yours, I never thought you can be like so authoritative. And I said, yeah, I can be authoritative, but I don't have to walk around like that all the time in my guard. I can still smile and project my authority to you because I have owned that for myself. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. So I want to, we've been talking for a really long time. What I want to do is, here's some inquiry. I want to give you some questions to think with. Okay, here's some inquiry that you can do in order to analyze your relationship with power in itself. Yeah. Because again, we have to start becoming really comfortable with this word power to fully own our self-leadership. So in what areas do you feel powerless in your life? So as I'm saying, maybe you can make a note of it, write it down, journal it later, or just feel into it right now and just post it in the comments as it comes. Yeah, intuitively. Don't think too hard. What areas of your life do you feel powerless? Is it your finances? Is it your health? Is it your career? Is it your family? Is it your loved ones? So what area of your life, and if somebody is watching, yeah, okay, I got disconnected there. So another question to ask is, what or to who have you given your power away? And it could be sometimes, some majority of the times it is some person that we have given our power to, or it could be a situation that keeps happening in our life and we've just given our power to that. you know, every time we encounter that person or situation, we just go into our default mode of defense or defending. Yeah. Another question to ask yourself is, in what ways have you not stepped into your power? Yeah. We know this. As women, we know this. We know where we have not owned our power. Yeah, we know where we have been really passive in our lives. We know, but we do not react. We know, but we do not take charge. We know, but we suppress. Sometimes we think it's not important, and then what? Guess what happens then? We burst out on occasions. You know, there are those abrupt explosion of emotions, and people around you think that, okay, she must be on her periods. Yeah, typical. So these are some of the questions you can think of when we so I want to talk a little bit about the warrior essence. When we work with the warrior essence, or any essence in general with the feminine empress, the first thing we do is we become really honest, and we accept what is present in the non-judgmental way. Yeah. As I said, we work with first looking into our dark qualities so that we can use that to experience the light qualities. It's important that we become really honest and accept and acknowledge in a non-judgmental way. So this is something that I would love you to make a note of and give some time, write down, take some time in journaling. You can do this, take 10-15 minutes and just do this, because this will define your relationship with power and self-leadership. Yeah, think about, I want you to create a sentence this way: I feel powerless to blank, even though I know dash 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 blank. Okay, maybe I will write it somewhere in the comment. So for example, one of the examples I can say is, I feel powerless to, let's say, leave this job, or leave this relationship, or leave, or stop doing, or stop overeating, or you know, something like that. I feel powerless to blank, whatever it is very present in your life, even though I know. Yeah, so I feel powerless to leave this job, that's an example, even though I know it's sucking the life out of me. Yeah, this could be the case. So write on what it is for you. I'm going to put it here. Did it go? I feel powerless to, and then you just, there's a blank, even though I know dash. So this is an inquiry just for yourself. You don't have to share it here, you don't have to put it in the comments if you don't feel like. If you feel like, it's fine too, but most importantly, do this for yourself. Acknowledge where you feel powerless, and there's no good or bad around it. Yeah. And then I want you to move into the next layer of this dark inquiry. What do you believe that others can give to you that you think you cannot give to yourself? Yeah, since the beginning of our time together today, we have spoken about external validation, people pleasing, and a lot of times we think we are living someone else's life. This is what it is when we are not in self-leadership. So it is important that we really inquire that, why do I do this? Like, you know, Melissa, you shared that, you know, you seek for external validation, but you don't even know of whom. Yeah. So a good thing to inquire would be, what do you believe that those people, or whoever, you know, that what do you believe that they can give you that you cannot give to yourself? What is it that you think that they can give you and you cannot give it to yourself? And that's why you are stuck in this pattern of stepping out or away from self-leadership? This is a very crucial sentence, inquiry. And most important question to ask yourself is, am I willing to step into self-leadership? And if you're willing, just type in the comments and let me know, like, yes, I'm willing to step into my self-leadership, because willingness sometimes is the first seed. Yeah, it's the first seed. Because what happens is sometimes the pain of settling, the pain of not feeling into, the pain of the pain of settling. Sometimes the pain of settling becomes much more than the fear itself, and that's when we are like, okay, I am willing to step into self-leadership. So as I said, it's not about getting rid of fear. Sometimes we utilize our traumatic experience, our pain points to source courage from there. Because sometimes that pain becomes much more uncomfortable than the fear itself. Yeah, you get what I'm saying? So that's what I wanted to share with you about self-leadership. And I want to, hey Heidi, yes, definitely willing, yes. Seema, why does appreciation from others always feel much better than appreciating oneself? What's the story there? Okay, this is the principle of the feminine itself. We have to understand two dynamics, masculine, feminine, that runs within us and also is projected in relationships. So for a woman who is innately feminine in a woman's body, she is the feminine. So the feminine ultimate nature is that the feminine wants to be loved. When you look into this relational aspect of masculine and feminine, a feminine always wants to be loved. Woman always wants to be loved. That's the nature of this feminine. Masculine always looks for freedom. Yeah. So that's why sometimes in relationship things don't work, because the masculine is longing for freedom and the feminine is longing for appreciation. So we have to understand that this is the innate nature and learn to give it to each other. That's how we work in conscious relating. So it is sometimes very applicable to the inner masculine, inner feminine within us as well. Yeah, we love to be appreciated. Women love to be appreciated. And you see, when you learn to appreciate yourself, like wholly, truly, you will stop waiting to hear that from others. You know, you will look at yourself in the mirror and you will not feel the need that why is that person not appreciating me? Because you've owned yourself so much. Yeah, so that's the story. So of course appreciation from others feel much better. On the other hand, what I also know is that oftentimes we women do not even know how to receive, because of same reasons. Others may be appreciating us and telling such nice things, and we're like, yeah, okay, yeah, or maybe we just deflect, no, and we just come with deflecting answers. So we have to learn to fully own that piece of ourselves within ourselves, so that other appreciation, when it comes, it's really good. Yeah, it's a beautiful exchange. But when it doesn't come, it does not incomplete you in any ways. Does it make sense? Let me know if it makes sense. Benafsha Sohail. Hi, it's a new person here. So that's what I wanted to share, sisters. If you have any questions, I would love to know from you. put it in the comment here. Thank you for asking questions, because that makes it much more fun for me to be here and sharing and interacting. Otherwise it's really boring to talk to myself. And while we are here, I want to also mention briefly about the Feminine Empress codes, the 3 months online immersion that we are beginning. And we're going very deep into all these aspects of self-leadership. In these 3 months, we get to practice, we get to implement, we get to integrate, and then we get to express from that. For women who want to experience deeper levels of their mother, the warrior, the lover essence, and I wanted to I wanted to share a little bit about it while we are here. We'll take a couple of minutes here for you to check this out. Yeah, check this out. The Feminine Empress codes. So this we are beginning on the 8th of August. Yeah, 8th of August is the time, the Lion's Gate. And okay, hold on, I can't do. Where's my screen? It's here. It's Lion's Gate. It's a new moon in Leo. It's all of the energies that is present for us to become much more visible, and it's a perfect time for us to work with the Feminine Empress archetype. So we will be diving into the lover essence, which is all about owning your pleasure and play. We will begin with that because for a woman it is very important that she owns that aspect in her body, of her sensuality, sexuality first, and then move on to other pieces of like the presence and power, which is the mother essence, and then the purpose and potential as well. So how this is going to look like is that we're going to practice different types of emotional alchemy, and we will be going through various ancient rituals that are or can be easily applicable to our modern day lives as women, and take pieces of it to create our unique personality as the Feminine Empress that we are. So we will each month we will dive into one essence. So we will go into lessons of inquiry, contemplation, and then we will have 2 live sister circles as well in that week, in that month, sorry. And where we will witness, we will do embodiment rituals. So you will have plenty of time to really deepen all of that aspects of the warrior, the lover, and the mother essence inside of you. One of the things I wanted to really make sure is that, you know, this journey, this 3 months online immersion is not for a woman who is trying to avoid honest conversation with herself, is not for the one who is unwilling to accept full responsibility of her life, which is why I'm talking about self-leadership. Yeah, so here's what we will be working with: the lover essence that is beginning on the 8th of August. We're going to work with the light and dark codes of pleasure and play. So we're going to learn tantric self-love codes, forgiveness codes. We're going to go into sex magic, yoni healing, and creating your unique beauty and style codes. So some of the things like that. And the mother is going to be all about activating our presence and power. So we're going to learn more about the womb, the ovaries energizing, how do we use the abundance and surrender codes, and also learning discernment and devotion, which is so important for us to make everyday decisions. So here we will learn more about the co-creatress energy. And then we go into the warrior essence. The warrior essence is our last month together, where first we will begin by integrating our distorted masculine piece. We will learn how to create our legacy code, and we will learn some quantum codes of time expanding and all of that. so that you can feel comfortable in becoming visible in your expression. So that's all. You have some beautiful bonuses. You can have a look in the website. I'm not going to read all of that. It will be very boring for you if I read all of that. So everything is really nicely put in the website. You can have a look. What I want to say is that the investment is $997 for this 12 weeks, the 3 months of journey together, but we are doing that for almost half price here until the 31st of July. So you can opt in for $497, and you can pay in 4 installments as well, or you can pay the full price, which is the $997, and you get 4 hours of private coaching with me as well. This is only for 5 women, so 3 women have already taken the spots. I have 2 more available, and all of this goodness is available for you. And I'm excited. I am super excited for all this magic to unfold. This is the first time I'm creating something like this, and I'm really excited about it. So that's all I wanted to share. I'm going to drop a link to the Feminine Empress codes anywhere here. If you are interested, please let me know, share with me any questions, and share this video with someone you think that will be benefiting from different aspects of self-leadership that we spoke about. Because, you know, even if you do not step into the Feminine Empress codes, there are nuggets here in this class that we shared for you to make subtle shifts. And we all can do that. We all can begin, as I said, that it starts from the willingness. So that's available to you right now. How to feel more worthy of receiving. Yes, 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 sister. We are going to do that. We are going to work in the lover essence around it, around receiving. We also, the lover and the mother are going to form a strong base for receiving. So we're going to be working on that. So you will get the taste there. Alright, sisters, so if you do not have any questions, I am going to sign off. Thank you for being here, sharing this time and energy together. I truly appreciate it, and I will be coming on live. Today is the 13th. On the 16th, we are going to talk about psyche and protection of our psyche. It's very important that we understand this aspect so that we can then feel comfortable in our power and presence, specifically in our mother essence. Yeah, so but we need to know how to protect ourselves and our psyche in ways that can feel safe in our bodies. So I will discuss that in the next live that is happening on the 16th. Same page, details will be somewhere. For now, I am going to sign off. Thank you so much for being here. Have a beautiful day from wherever you have joined us, and I'll see you soon.